this is exciting. Our first two-parter.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting to break this one up.
It adds suspense, and the fact that we talked about this episode for like 2.5 hours, means that this is probably best that we set it up and do it two-parter.
Yeah, probably.
But it adds suspense. Dun, dun, dun.
You're listening to .fm.
Welcome to .fm. I'm your host, Danielle Gonzalez.
I'm Claire.
And today we're continuing the story of Harvey Milk. Claire, where did we leave off last time?
Okay, well, I think I left off by being way too excited about the end of our episode and the first two-parter. So, besides for that, Harvey had just become the first gay man elected to public office. And the story has so many twists and turns. There's so many things that happened to Harvey that you'll want to stay to the end, because I was very surprised when Dany taught me everything about Harvey. So what year is it, Dany?
I believe we were in November of 1977.
Yes, it was a year.
It sure was. So just as a refresher, in late June of 1977, a gay man named Robert Hillsborough was killed in the Castro district in this horrific hate crime. He was stabbed 15 times while his attackers stood around and chanted slurs at him. And it was this big ordeal. The San Francisco mayor and the victim's mother even publicly blamed the attack on State Senator Briggs and Anita Bryant, who we talked about last time, for, whipping up this anti-gay fervor that motivated this attack and all of that. And it was really this murder that motivated Harvey to run for city supervisor a third time. And he won handily in November of 1977. And it was really this public outrage over not just the murder of Robert Hillsborough, although that was a big part of it, but also just the general treatment of the queer community in San Francisco and beyond that really propelled Harvey to victory in this third election. He really, took this outrage against Anita Bryant and used it to fuel his campaign.
And the wider gay community in San Francisco kind of did the same thing. The city's population, or the city's gay population at this time, was estimated to be between 100,000 and 200,000. That's nearly a third of the city's total population is gay. Just influx of people. The Castro Village Association, that gay chamber of commerce that he started, grew from 9 businesses when it started to over 90.
Damn.
Even the neighborhood's local bank, which before now was the smallest branch in the city, had now become the largest branch, and they had to build a whole new wing just to accommodate all of the customers.
Damn, yeah.
The gay community and Harvey have really taken this outrage against Anita Bryant and John Briggs and really turned it into fuel.
Exactly.
It's honestly kind of inspiring to see.
Yeah.
So when Milk was sworn in, it made national headlines, obviously, because he was the first, gay man in the U.S. to win election.
I was trying to think about how this whole thing kind of came to be, right? He started as supervisor, and all of this, or not supervisor. He started on the city commission, and that was his first foyer into government. And when he finally got into the government side of things, he learned all about tax structures. He would be able to sit in as mayor if something were to happen. He had so much responsibility. And so it just allowed him to kind of get his legs, understand how to move forward with all these things. And then on top of all of the experience that he's had in government as city commissioner, right, he finally wins the supervisory role. And then in 1977, there was a major election of firsts, including a single mother, a Chinese American, an African American woman being elected as well. All of these people started getting elected into San Francisco. I think it was all of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And it just was this just coming out, if you will, right? Everybody was just getting their legs, and it suddenly stopped becoming white men elected into politics, and more people started getting elected into positions that, represented the United States as a whole. So it was a huge, huge moment, and all of his experience helped him get to this point, which then was like a domino effect that just kind of kept pushing people forward.
Yeah, this 1977 election where he was elected was such an impactful election because, like you said, there were so many other firsts that were elected alongside him. But yeah, so he's city supervisor. And as city supervisor, Harvey had this reputation for being both, kind of an unpredictable prankster.
Aw.
I guess in his first meeting, he addressed himself as the number one queen. But he's also proven to be an effective ally for the liberal mayor Moscone.
Nice.
Becomes a very close friend to the mayor. His first initiative, his first official act as supervisor is he sponsors a civil rights bill that outlaws discrimination based on sexual orientation. He literally was, okay, so Anita Bryant got one repealed in Miami. We're going to introduce exactly what she doesn't want.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And he does. He sponsors this piece of legislation, and it passes. It passes almost unanimously. I think only one vote, Supervisor Dan White, votes against it. And remember that name. That comes up later.
All right, Dan White, got it.
So this gate protection ordinance passes, and Mayor Moscone signs it into law very enthusiastically using a powder blue pen that Harvey had given him specifically for the occasion.
Oh.
Right? Powder blue pen to sign in the first
blue.
gay protection law in San Francisco. Excellent.
Chef's kiss.
Harvey was a showman, 100%.
Absolutely.
In 1978, however, Harvey has a particularly bad day. Harvey's then partner, a man named Jack Lira, calls Harvey's office demanding that he come home. When Harvey makes it home, he finds that Lira had hanged himself in the back patio.
Oh.
And in a note that Lira had left, he said that he was very depressed because of Anita Bryant and John Briggs' political campaigns and everything. So this kind of, prompts Harvey to very quickly campaign very vigorously against John Briggs' legislation that would fire gay teachers. He, doesn't really give himself time to grieve. Instead, he just funnels that anguish into fighting, for the gay community.
Mm-hmm.
There,
It's not personal, it's politics.
Yeah. He, I don't know. Harvey, he took this pretty hard. And Harvey, swore that if Briggs won the governorship of California, he would still not win San Francisco. And their public feud quickly became pretty infamous. At first, Briggs refused to debate Harvey, despite numerous requests for a public debate. But finally, in 1978 in June, I believe, at the Pride Parade, Briggs, at this point, he's still the California representative for the district representing San Francisco. So he's in the city a lot. He tries to come to the Pride Parade. I'm not sure why. Probably because he wanted to try and make some kind of a scene. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Mayor Moscone and Harvey kind of ambush him and block his way from the parade.
Okay.
They have a reporter from the San Francisco Chronicle there to witness the event so that Harvey can, in person, publicly challenge Briggs to a debate. And Briggs has no choice but to accept, essentially. So they finally get some public debates going.
This is a lot like what happens nowadays too with all these influencers,
Yeah, sort of.
especially all these right-wing influencers. We're seeing them just storm campuses where thousands and thousands of college students have the opportunity, if you will, to debate these people. And it's like they're demanding public. I mean, what they're really trying to do is get their message out to a broader way, a broader group of people.
Yes, and also I think what they're trying to do, this would be, again, I don't know exactly why Briggs was trying to go, but I think this was probably why. I think, these folks are trying to get sound bites and get a negative emotional reaction that they can then point to and be like, see, the gays are public nuisances. They are,
Yeah, they are bad.
Exactly.
Gay people are bad. How dare they love each other?
Right. So Harvey challenges him publicly to a debate, finally in person.
Okay.
He can't say no. So now we have some televised debates. And during these debates, Briggs constantly maintains the opinion that teachers wanted to abuse and recruit children because gay men can't procreate themselves. So how else will the gay community exist if not by corrupting our children and converting them to the gay way of life? You know, all that kind of bullshit.
Oh my God.
Harvey totally keeps his cool. He responds with statistics that he has had law enforcement compile that show that pedophiles predominantly identify as heterosexual. He has a lot of quippy one-liners. One of his most famous was, if it were true that children mimic their teachers, you'd sure have a hell of a lot more nuns running around. And, you know, this particular pride parade that Briggs tries to make it to ended up being, I think, the largest pride parade to date.
What?
Yeah, there were like 250,000 to 375,000 attendees.
Jesus.
It was massive.
Did you hear that the No Kings protest the other day in Seattle had like 180,000 people attend or something?
Well, the official estimate was 70,000, but that's probably a large undercount. It was probably closer to like 130.
It was massive.
It was pretty big. And yet only half the size of this pride parade in 1978.
Yeah, I know. Crazy,
Yeah.
right?
So organizers of the Pride Parade asked participants to carry signs indicating their hometowns to show how far people have come. And so Milk rides in an open-top car carrying a sign that says, "I'm from Woodmere, New York." Huh. After the parade, he is about to go on stage and give a speech when someone tells him that they've received a death threat, saying that the second Harvey takes the stage is when the first bullet will hit him. So a lot of his aides are like, "You don't have to go up there." And Harvey's like, "Nope, I do have to go up there. If the cameras are rolling, I need to be there."
Wow.
So he goes on stage and gives a speech that ends up becoming his most famous speech. It's called the Hope Speech. In the speech, he shares, his optimism, saying that people are, still being educated and that the first step to this kind of situation is always hostility. But after that, you can sit down and really talk about it and help bring people to your side. It's a very inspiring speech. And
was the speech recorded or something? Or like, do we have like...
It was not recorded.
It was
However, I did find a video, and I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's 9 minutes long, so I'm only going to play a part of it. But I did find a video where Sir Ian McKellen, Gandalf himself,
Excellent.
reads this speech, and it is very impactful. It straight up brought me to tears. So here's a part of that speech.
Why are we here? Why are gay people here? And what's happening? Well, let's look at 1977. In 1977, gay people had their rights taken away from them in Miami. But you must remember that in the week before Miami and the week after that, the word homosexual or gay appeared in every single newspaper in this nation in articles both pro and con. In every radio station, every TV station, and every household. For the first time in the history of the world, everybody was talking about it, good or bad. Unless you have dialogue, unless you open the walls of dialogue, you can never reach to change people's opinion. Once you have dialogue starting, you can break down prejudice. Now, I know we're pressed for time, so I'm going to cover just one more little point. That is to understand why it is important that gay people run for office and that gay people get elected. I know there are many people in this room who are running for Central Committee who are gay. I encourage you. And there's a major reason why. You see, there is a major difference, and it remains a vital difference between a friend in office and a gay person in office. It's not enough anymore just to have friends represent us, no matter how good that friend may be. The black community made up its mind to that a long time ago, that the myths against blacks can only be dispelled by electing black leaders, so the black community could be judged by the leaders and not by the myths or black criminals. The Spanish community must not be judged by Latin criminals or myths. The Asian community must not be judged by Asian criminals or myths. And the time has come when the gay community must not be judged by our criminals and myths. Like every other group, we must be judged by our leaders and by those who are themselves gay, those who are visible. For invisible, we remain in limbo. A myth, But today, the black community is not judged by its friends, but by its black legislators and leaders. And we must give people the chance to judge us by our leaders and legislators. A gay person in office can set a tone, can command respect, not only from the larger community, but from the young people in our own community who need both examples and hope. The anger and the frustrations that some of us feel is because we are misunderstood, and friends can't feel the anger and frustration. They can sense it in us, but they can't feel it. Because a friend has never gone through what is known as coming out. I will never forget what it was like coming out and having nobody to look up toward. I remember the lack of hope. I can't forget the looks on faces of people who've lost hope, be they gay, be they seniors, be they blacks looking for an almost impossible job, be they Latins trying to explain their problems and aspirations in a tongue that's foreign to them. After Dade County, I walked among the angry and the frustrated night after night, and I looked at their faces. And in San Francisco, 3 days before Gay Pride Day, a person was killed just because he was gay. And that night, I walked among the sad and the frustrated at City Hall in San Francisco, and later that night as they lit candles on Castro Street and stood in silence, reaching out for some symbolic thing that would give them hope. These were strong people. They were strong, but even they needed hope. And the young gay people who are coming out and hear Anita Bryant on television and her story, the only thing they have to look forward to is hope. Without hope, not only gays, but the blacks, the seniors, the handicapped, the us's will give up. And if you help elect to the Central Committee and other offices more gay people, that gives a green light to all who feel disenfranchised, a green light to move forward. It means hope to a nation that has given up, because if a gay person makes it, the doors are open to everyone. So, if there is a message I have to give, it is that I've found one overriding thing about my personal election. It's the fact that if a gay person can be elected, it's a green light. And you have to give people hope.
This show is powered by our community. No ads, no algorithms, just people who care. So if you want to help .fem grow, we'd love to have you at patreon.com/.fem. That's patreon.com/DOTFEMME. I don't know about you, but I'm crying again as I listen to that.
Oh, Danny. Did Ian McKellen inspire hope in you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very powerful speech.
It is a very powerful speech.
It's no wonder why it became, Harvey's most famous. I think he's right. I think, we do need to give people hope.
Especially right now, it's more important than ever with literally every attack coming our way. It's relentless.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, it's time for us to see the conclusion of Harvey Milk's story here. What happened after this, Danny? What happened after his speech?
A few months after, on November 7th, 1978, the election where voters are voting on the Briggs proposition, this whole gay teachers law.
Sure.
It ends up losing by more than 1 million votes.
Okay.
In fact, in San Francisco, 75% of voters voted against it. Harvey and his team and the whole gay community were totally expecting this thing to be passed. They were totally expecting to lose in this election. And Harvey was quoted as saying, if this bill passes, then let us not be paralyzed by depression. Let's get angry and fight back.
Hell yeah.
So they were totally expecting it to win, but it lost by more than 1 million votes.
Holy shit.
Harvey they defeated this anti-gay Prop 6.
Wow.
It was a huge deal. So after the election, remember that name, Dan White?
Oh yeah, I know Dan White.
Supervisor Dan White ends up resigning. He said his salary just wasn't enough to support his family. However, for some reason, he, a couple days later, goes to the mayor and asks that his resignation be withdrawn and that he get his job back.
Is this because of this loss that he just had with the Briggs
Well,
proposition?
no, this is more or less unrelated. So
Okay.
Dan White, like, this wasn't Dan White's legislation or anything.
Okay.
However, I do think that on his
probably pissed
personal
off.
ballot, he did vote for it because Dan was
Yeah.
pretty conservative. He was like an Irish Catholic, used to be a cop.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he, wasn't in a great place mentally after this. He was known to like get into like verbal spats and arguments with Harvey over, gay rights and stuff. So I'm sure he took this as kind of a blow, but it wasn't his like personal political initiative or anything. So yeah, he resigns supposedly because he's not being paid enough to take care of his family. However, he, tries to take back his resignation.
Wow.
And the mayor, I think, initially seems to agree to give him his job back or agrees to consider it or something. But, after more consideration and talking with some of the other supervisors, including Harvey, he decides not to reinstate White and instead decides that he's going to appoint someone more in line with the growing ethnic diversity of White's district and the liberal leanings of the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
And Dan's not pleased with that, so he starts working on this political campaign, to get reinstated. But something crazy happens on November 18th, 1978, where the Jonestown mass suicide in Guyana happens. Jim Jones, the whole drink the Kool-Aid thing.
Oh, this thing?
That happens.
This happens?
That happens
Oh,
November
God.
18th.
How does this impacting Harvey Milk?
Okay, here's the deal. In the Jonestown massacre is really what it is. Leading up to it, there have been reports that a lot of the cultist members are being held there against their will. They want to leave. They want to come back to the United States. And Jim Jones and the cult leaders will not let them leave.
Okay.
So the cult was started in San Francisco, and then they left and went to Guyana and started their own community in the jungle.
Okay.
U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan, who was a California representative representing San Francisco, decides he's going to go to Jonestown to check up on, these allegations of people being held against their will, make sure that that folks are being safe, that they actually want to be there. If anyone does want to leave, he'll help bring them back.
Okay.
When he gets there,
Admirable.
the cult leadership essentially stops him on the runway.
Of course they do.
They get into a brief argument before they're finally like, okay, fine, we'll take you to the compound. So Congressman Ryan goes to this compound. He takes a look around. Everything seems to be kind of okay. But right as he's about to leave, someone secretly passes him a note saying things are not good and that they are being held against their will and that they want to leave and that children are being like starved and all this kind of stuff. Congressman Ryan confronts the cult leadership about this letter, and the leadership is like, no, if anyone wants to leave, they can leave. And so there are some cultists who try to leave with Congressman Ryan, and they go back to the airplane, and as they're about to get on the plane, a truck with some of the cult leaders show up.
Oh, boy.
All of them are carrying machine guns,
Jesus.
and they basically mow down everyone that's trying to leave. And Congressman Ryan
What?
dies.
Holy shit.
Congressman Ryan is shot and killed. So this is a big thing in San Francisco, and it essentially erases Dan White's whole thing on the newspaper. He was quoted as saying, "You see that one day I'm on the front page, the next I'm swept right off."
Oh, boy.
A little over a week later, just about an hour before Mayor Moscone is about to hold a press conference to announce White's replacement, White sneaks into City Hall through a basement window.
Wow.
And he goes to the mayor's office where he shoots the mayor 4 times, including twice in the head.
Wow.
Then he leaves the mayor's office, starts to reload his gun while he's walking down the hallway to his old office, and he intercepts Harvey Milk on the way, asks Harvey to step inside to his old office, where he then closes the door and shoots Harvey 5 times, twice in the head,
Wow.
and kills assassinates both Harvey Milk and Mayor Moscone. Dianne Feinstein, who at this time was president of the Board of Supervisors, hears the gunshots, calls the police, and finds Harvey's body face down on the floor.
Wow.
In 1979, a year later, during the trial, Dan was acquitted of first-degree murder. Instead, he was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter, the lowest possible charge for...
Killing 2 people.
Yeah.
5 gunshots, or 2 in the head, and the lowest possible charge? You're kidding me.
He's only sentenced to 7 2/3 years, which was reduced to 5 years for time served and good behavior. So he was out in 1984.
Oh, you fucker. Sorry. Are we allowed to say that?
Sure.
All right, great.
I do not mark this podcast as child friendly.
Great. It shouldn't be. We're talking about assassinations now.
So this is a huge deal. Acting Mayor Feinstein at this point and Board Supervisor Carol Ruth Silver and Milk's successor, Supervisor Harry Britt, all condemned the jury decision. But the majority Irish Catholic anti-gay police department celebrated the verdict. In fact, one of them even started singing Danny Boy over the police band, allegedly.
Wow.
So it was pretty wild. In response to the verdict, a group of people from the Castro, like 3,000, or I guess a little more than 3,000 folks, marched down to City Hall chanting "Avenge Harvey Milk." And, this march kind of turns into a violent riot of, like a mob of 3,000 people start lighting police cars on fire, breaking windows. It lasted several hours. During this time, a bunch of Milk's friends and former aides tried unsuccessfully to stop the destruction and violence, and this particular event has become known as the White Night Riots.
Wow.
Hours later, after the riots that afternoon have ended, a couple of police cruisers who were, they were filled with police officers wearing riot gear, arrive at the Elephant Walk bar on Castro Street, which was a gay bar, where Harvey Milk's protege, Cleve Jones, and a friend who was a reporter at the San Francisco Chronicle, Warren Hinkle, they watched these police officers barge into the bar and start beating patrons at random in like a 15-minute melee.
Wild.
Just absolutely.
So there's just unrest at this point.
The gay community is upset that there's no justice. Some of them, torch police cars, and the police retaliate by just beating a bunch of gay guys in a gay bar. Pretty crazy. So this was a huge deal. And actually, as a result of this trial, California voters changed the law to reduce the likelihood of acquittals when the accused knew what they were doing, but claimed their capacity was impaired, and diminished capacity was abolished as a defense to a charge. The specific defense that Dan White's lawyers employed has now become known as the Twinkie defense.
Okay.
It boils down to this. Dan White was a notorious health nut. He always ate healthy food.
Okay.
But the night before the murders, he binged on junk food because he was sad. And all of that junk food binging caused a chemical imbalance in his brain that led to him causing murder. That was his defense. And the jury fucking bought it. They totally,
Jesus Christ.
They were sympathetic to Dan because he was Irish Catholic. He was a former police officer.
They're probably homophobic is more likely.
The prosecution refused to let anyone who was gay or supportive of gay folks be on the jury. So it was, totally
absurd.
So California voters changed the law in the years after.
As they should. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's the story of Harvey Milk. But, I think Milk's legacy and impact is absolutely profound.
Yeah. He was the first gay elected person to office.
Yeah, and, he strongly believed that, neighborhoods promoted unity and a small-town experience, that places like the Castro should be able to provide services to all its residents.
Yeah, he was a strong, foundation of the community for years,
Yeah.
He also had a lot of experience and wisdom that he passed on to so many others, Danny and I are both inspired about that speech still,
Yeah, exactly. I really appreciate, Harvey and how he approached things. We didn't really talk about it, but maybe we should have, but he started almost every single speech with, "My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you."
Oh, damn.
Kind of, poking fun at the whole gays want to recruit your children thing, but also genuinely, we're trying to recruit people that will stand up for everyone. right?
Right.
You know, so it was pretty profound.
It is.
So in the final years of his life, Harvey really kind of emphasized that gay folks should be more visible to help end discrimination. He, really thought that like a lot of prejudice came from people not realizing that they already know someone who is gay. So if everyone came out, people would realize, oh, I know so-and-so, and they're not a child molester. So he really tried to encourage people to come out and be more visible. Even though, he didn't come out to his mother before her death, he deeply kind of regretted that.
Oh.
In his final statement before his assassination, he kind of predicted it. He predicted his assassination.
He predicted his assassination?
Yeah, I think he knew that, people were going to be opposed to him, and he knew that it was coming. But in
Can I read this one?
Yeah.
Can you put a cool little like old-timey effect on my voice?
Sure.
Excellent.
I'll give you the full radio demon treatment.
Oh, yeah, I'm all in. All right, here we go.
I cannot prevent anyone from getting angry or mad or frustrated. I can only hope that they'll turn that anger and frustration and madness into something positive, so that 2, 3, 4, 500 will step forward, so the gay doctors will come out, the gay lawyers, the gay judges, the gay bankers, the gay architects. I hope that every professional gay will say enough, come forward and tell everybody, wear a sign, let the world know. Maybe that will help.
Well done.
Thank you. You'd think I'm a voice coach or something.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel you went a little anachronistic because this was like 1978 and you went back to like 24. But,
Oh, okay. Should I do the hippie treatment? I cannot prevent anyone.
No, because that's not what he sounded like.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so, he really encouraged folks to come out.
Absolutely.
And he was, like I said, he did predict his assassination. I believe there was a quote, I don't remember when he said it, but he said something to the effect of, if a bullet should enter my brain, let that bullet also destroy closet doors.
Damn.
Yeah, I know, right?
Damn.
Like, mic drop moment. Holy crap. So,
Yep.
and, I don't think he's received all the credit that he deserves, but he's received a fair amount of it.
Yeah.
For instance, in 2009, President Obama posthumously awarded Harvey the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and Harvey's nephew Stuart Milk accepted on behalf of his uncle.
Aw.
Yeah, very sweet. So Harvey's legacy lives on, and I think we should all strive to live up to it. If I may, my name is Danielle Gonzalez, and I want to recruit you.
I'm Claire.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. So if you enjoyed this, you can support us by following us on Blue Sky. You can donate to our Patreon if you want to support us financially. If you have other queer history stories that you want us to cover, feel free to contact us on our website or write into our P.O. box. We check it every week. And with that, I'm Danielle Gonzalez.
I'm Claire. I thought we already did that.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.